Hi, I'm Tobias, this is my van. My home on wheels, has been for the last year and a half. I'm quite happy in here, and the dog. Right, so yeah, this is the bed. Does turn into a double. You've got to just pull out the sort of cantilever section. And this bit just latches in. And I've got another bit which goes on the top, and then you can have a big double. And by doing that, it kind of meant I had a bit more space in here as well. So I've now got way more storage than I need under there, and I'm thinking about putting a bigger water tank in. Because now you've got a 125 litre tank with a little cut-off valve there, but I'm thinking about putting a 250 litre tank in. Obviously need somewhere to put my clothes, so kind of logically thought this would be a good little spot. I've got all my essentials in there. Don't really have much more than that, to be honest. I've got the socks and the pants and belts and all that sort of stuff stashed away in there with the IKEA storage boxes, which just conveniently fit exactly in there, which worked out pretty well. And I've got the keyboard sort of for the computer just velcroed on. The carpet was just a sort of last minute decision really. The dog was kind of skating around on here, so I decided it needed to have something that was a bit more comfortable for him really, because he's the other resident of the van. So I put another little sort of trimmed, well, the remainder of this sofa, I managed to sort of make a little removable seat, which sort of doubles as an emergency loo. So you can have an emergency poo if needed. So I've got this little toilet seat, which is obviously just sort of fits in there, and you can have a really glamorous poo in a bag, but it's better than not being able to, I guess. And I decided as well needed a bit of storage. This kind of was a dead space when I was designing it, and I thought, well, I can probably get some little baskets. So just managed to find some eBay baskets that fit really well. So yeah, needed Wi-Fi whilst I was in here. Just obviously, you know, if you've got a laptop, you want to be able to reconnect it at least. Haven't got a TV aerial, so I wanted to at least be able to watch some Netflix or just YouTube or something. So I've got a little Vodafone MiFi box. It gives me 50 gig a month, which seems to be enough. Decided to put a ramp that sort of stashes away underneath, and then I can let the dog in and out, and he's sort of trained to stay in and only come in when that's out, so that's been quite helpful. Letting him get in and out without his legs getting a bit worn out, because he's quite a big dog. I've got the underbody version of the Propex heater. When I had that fitted, that's the only thing I didn't have fitted on the van, but I spoke with the guys and asked them to put the control quite sort of easy to get to really, so I can have it all easy access and have the temperature set quite easily without having to reach around and manoeuvre around the van. But that worked out quite well, and then having the laptop shelf up the top, so I've got my sort of entertainment bit up here really, and then the shelf does, if you use the hinges, you can fold it down as well. Wanted to have really good lighting, so decided when I was fitting the van out to put wires absolutely everywhere, so I could have all these little lights, so I could sort of change the lighting around and not just have the main spotlights. And then I've got an inverter, 1,000 watt Sealy inverter. I decided I didn't really need more than 1,000 watts. I thought that was probably enough. I'm never really going to have anything plugged in like a kettle or anything, as I've got the gas kettle. But yeah, I went for some quite nice sort of chrome house sockets there, and then I've got a main kill switch for the inverter. And the dog's got his own little light. You can't really see it very well now, but at night it just means if he's in here and I'm at work or something, I can just leave that light on, and then the rest of the van's not that lit up. I wanted to make sure that I had like everything really easy to get to, so there's a fuse box on both sides of the van. There's one hidden away under here which controls all the lights on this side of the van, and a few of the sort of electric stuff that's on this side. And then on this side I've got, this is kind of like the main sort of hub of the van really. So I've got that running, most of the appliances and electrics are going through here. And then I've got running from the inverter, I've got another sort of 240 volt socket, which then splits off to all of the other sockets in the van. So there's another one hiding under here for the kitchen whenever I occasionally use the toaster, and then the laptop runs straight up to here. And then I've got a little G-Tech, got to have a Hoover, got a little G-Tech K9 dog version of the G-Tech that I can just charge up, which has just got the power cable running there, so whenever I'm driving or something like that, I just connect it up, and that seems to keep it happy, to be honest. I don't have to charge it very often. And then I've got my gas level there, so I can just turn that literally just on and off. It shows me how much gas I've got. And then I've got the solar charge controller, which I probably went a bit overkill, to be honest with you, but I just, you know, the money was available to me to get quite a good one, so I went with this one can handle about 3 kilowatts. So it's probably a bit more than I need. And then I've got the hot water boiler, which is just not for heating, just pretty much just for hot water, but basically runs into the shower, and then there's 2 water pipes running under the floor. So where the water comes in from the tank, it then separates as it comes out of the boiler. So I've got a hot and a cold water pipe going to the tap. So if I was to put the hot water on, I can get cold water pretty much immediately, and it doesn't filter all of the hot water out the tap. Yeah, it's worked really, really well. I couldn't ask for more with that, to be honest. And then you've got another slidey panel. Probably tell I like runners and latches in this van. Originally I wasn't sure what to do about batteries really. I kind of wanted to, you know, use the space as well as possible, but decided that I'd better to go with one big battery than like multiple little ones, and obviously now I've ended up with 3 of the big batteries in here to kind of run everything, but it means I never ever run out of power at all. And I've got 2 250 watt solar panels on the roof, so it's always charged basically in combination with the split charge when I'm driving. So in total I've got 660 amp hours, I think, which is probably more than I need, but I'd rather have more than not enough, to be honest. It makes it more like a house, you know, and because I've got 240 volt sockets everywhere, it's, you know, just means I can use things without worrying that I'm not going to suddenly have enough power. The kitchen ended up being a bit longer than I'd originally planned, but in a way it was quite good because the bin sort of conveniently fits in here, which I scavenged from a building site that I was working on, and it was just going in a skip, and I just thought that will fit somewhere, and it just, yeah, conveniently just fit perfectly underneath the worktop, and then I can just brush all of my like crumbs, and whenever you're cooking really, anything can go straight in there and it's not going on the floor. So yeah, I wanted to think of a way of having a shelf that wasn't going to really take up a lot of light and make it feel enclosed, so I kind of figured I could come up with something a bit sort of quirky. So I used the chains to hold it to the ceiling, and just obviously I've got copper pipe everywhere, so I use that to keep these boxes in, and they're just from IKEA, and I just painted them the same colour as the kitchen. I salvaged this mirror that's come off something from the 50s. It's, you know, quite a cool little piece to have. So yeah, as I had all the wires sort of placed before I did all the walls and the insulation, originally I was planning on having 2 of these little dome lights underneath here, but I didn't really need it, to be honest. So I've figured that I needed something to at least have some kind of fan in here, and I just found these double fans on eBay and hardwired them in, so they're velcroed upside down, and it just means me and the dog can have kind of separate little sort of have air blowing on us at night, which I've had on recently quite a lot actually, so it's been a godsend having that. And then I've got all my coffee, tea and sugar and stuff upside down, which has worked well. I had to screw them on though, because I first fitted them with like 2 screws, and then I realised that I couldn't get them off because the lid started turning with the jars as I took them off, so they've now got like loads of screws holding them in. I wanted obviously to be able to still have as much space as possible and have like somewhere to dry plates and stuff that wasn't on the worktop, because I kind of sacrificed that by having this sink and hob, because I know they do some that have got a sink and a drying rack, and then you'd have to have a separate hob. So yeah, this from IKEA was just perfect. Yeah, it worked out really well. When I was looking at taps, originally I thought I needed to get a 12 volt tap, which just when I was trying to figure out all the wiring and everything, that was just yet another thing to confuse me. So when I started plumbing everything in, I realised that actually really it's going to just, whenever the pump runs out, senses there's pressure, so you can just use a normal house tap and it just works fine. And then I've got the accumulator, so I get like a steady flow, because originally I didn't have an accumulator, so it was like pulsating. And then I did a bit of Googling and realised that there's like an accumulator you can get which just goes in line with the pump. Because I wanted this to be my sort of house on wheels, I wanted to make sure I had an oven. So I went with, originally I was going to put in Thetford, they do like a double oven, but I thought I'd rather have drawer space, so I ended up putting in more drawers. So I've got space for all my pots and pans and Tupperware and all that sort of stuff in there. And then I've got just more storage underneath, just for shoes, and just a really useful box full of all my kind of essential like little knickknacks. And then I've got just a sort of Thetford, I think it's a Thetford duplex, with just an electric spark. So yeah, you just turn it on and just click to fire. You don't even have to wire it in. When I was planning the van, I was thinking about what options I had for windows, and just figured that I saw these porthole windows on another guy's van that he fitted after he'd finished his build, and I just figured, right, I definitely want those. But yeah, I decided to put as many as I could really, and then this one at the back was an afterthought at the end, because after I did all the tiling, I was looking at this door and it just didn't look right. It still had the sort of tongue and groove on there, but it just made the kitchen look a bit unfinished. So I decided I'd put more tongue and groove the same way as on this wall and get it to line up, and then add another window in line with these and carry on the copper pipe round. And then I thought, well, if these tiles haven't fallen off, these ones won't, so I stuck more tiles on here just to kind of match up with the kitchen. Because I made such a deep worktop, I figured I can get away with like pretty much a full-size cutlery tray, so I've managed to get absolutely loads in here. And I've got all the sort of tin foil and all the basic stuff at the back. And yeah, it's worked out really well. I wanted to just go with all the same handles on everything as well, just to make it, give it a bit more character. And yeah, like I said, the worktop's I think about 700mm deep, so it's given me a bit less space to manoeuvre in here. But the van's built for me. I can fit down here perfectly. It just meant I've had to get very used to walking sideways, which is part of it, I guess. This was probably the biggest investment, I think. The single thing I bought in the van was the fridge. It nearly blew my mind how much it cost, but it's kind of been well worth it. So I've got I think it's a CRX 110, Waco or Dometic, whatever you want to call it. I think they're the same company now. And yeah, it's just meant I can keep ice cubes in the freezer. It's that good, and yeah, I've never had any problems with it at all. It's been an absolute dream. Because the dog got bigger and bigger, and he originally I used to have a mat that I could put in the shower, so he could go in there and turn around and come back down again, but he's just got so big now, it's not really great for him. He kind of gets a bit stuck. So I put a little doggy gate, so it just means I can have a shower and he doesn't suddenly come into the shower halfway through, or he tries to go in there and turn around and gets himself stuck. Yeah, the shower was like a labour of love. I totally misbudgeted how much it was going to cost me as well. I thought I'd probably get away with a few, 20 sheets of mosaic tiles. It ended up being about £600 worth of mosaic tiles, so I think about 50 packs. And it took me absolutely ages because everything in the van's not perfectly square. I had to cut a lot of them, which was quite difficult. So, I was there with an angle grinder, just carefully cutting these glass tiles, trying to get them to fit down all the little gaps. But yeah, I stuck them directly to ply with grab adhesive, and the building company I was working for, every carpenter and plumber I spoke to about it seemed to think it just wasn't going to work and it was going to crack when you hit a bump. But I've probably had upwards of about 400 showers in it over the last year and a half, and it's never had any problems at all. That's just directly connected into the boiler straight through the wall, and the pipe's only probably about 30 centimetres long, so it comes straight out from the boiler, and I get hot water within about 3 or 4 seconds, and it goes anywhere. If you crank the boiler up, it can be up to about 65-70 degrees, so you could pretty much burn yourself in there. It's obviously I don't have it set that high. I've got it at about 40 at the moment, but that was a real deal breaker for me, having a proper shower, because I just wanted it to be like a house. And just be able to get up in the morning and have a proper shower and get yourself ready for the day. Especially because I was working for building companies, I needed to be able to come back and clean myself off. And yeah, that's probably the most time-consuming bit of the whole van, to be honest. Sticking all those on. But yeah, I'm really proud of it actually. It's probably my favourite bit of the van. Because I've got such a big roof rack, I knew I was going to use the front of it for the solar panels. Originally I was going to put a third solar panel, but then I just figured I'd be crazy not to put some kind of roof deck or something. I saw a guy in America who'd put one the whole length of his bus, and it was kind of a dream to be able to have a roof deck. So I used a loft ladder just to bolt to the roof rack, and then I've got about 1.5 metre by 2 metre roof deck. And so you can see the two solar panels. That was a stroke of luck. It was normally the 250 and 300 watt panels. They're a bit taller, but these were ones that I found that were pretty much exactly the right size for the roof rack. So it just slides up. It's just like pretty much as easy as that. Just clicks in your bed. Come on, in your bed. Yeah, so it's been a bit of a sort of life-changing thing really doing this van, to be honest. But yeah, because I used to live in central London, paying loads of rent and running around in a suit for 7 or 8 years, just decided I just didn't want to do that again. I don't know, the rat race really, London really chewed me up and spat me out, it felt like, and I felt like I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing with my life, and decided it was time for a bit of a change. And I'd always liked the idea of living on a narrow boat or something like that. And when I was younger, I lived in Switzerland, and I was always in chalets and things like that. And I saw a couple of other vans where they'd use a lot of timber, and it was really homely. So I wanted to do something like that, and then it got a bit out of hand, to be honest. But yeah, I'm really glad that I did it actually. Behave yourself. Behave yourself. Your horse in. This is what I thought would happen. I'd recommend it to anyone really living in a van, to be honest. It's been pretty amazing. If you want to do it, then definitely give it a go and try your luck at it. I've recently got a workshop about 3 months ago that I'm just getting ready so I can do vans for other people, and sort of predominantly sort of houses on wheels like I've done. So, with showers and everything you could need really, fully off grid. And I just really don't regret it at all. Probably one of the best decisions I made in my life. Bear, what's this? In your bed.